Positive way, hey, positive way.
Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you. Focus on the fundamentals that we've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
This is the New Hampshire High School Basketball Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
The New Hampshire High School Basketball Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
Right now, it's not about talent, it's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before, so they're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
And now your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those two foul shots, the end of the game, did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a soup question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
This is gonna hurt.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. We do it for you live on the radio every Saturday morning during the season on two fine stations here in New Hampshire. The legendary News Radio 610 WGIR and the becoming legendary 96.7 on the Seacoast. My name is Pete Terrier. My normal co-host, Dave Haley, he's up in the North Country, I'm sure listening to the program on iHeartRadio, and we'll get with him later on in the program, but I'm happy to say that I got Zach Ward, Union Leader basketball writer, in studio. He writes that high school basketball column in the Union Leader. He was at a game last night covering a lot of city games. Zach, good morning. Thanks for coming in and filling the shoes of Dave for a week. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Pete. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I enjoy reading this kid's stuff. I started seeing you at the beginning of the year. I really like the work that you do, and it's nice getting another voice on here to talk and another set of eyes on the New Hampshire high school basketball scene. So we look forward to getting your input throughout the course of the program. If you listen to the show on a regular basis, you know the first thing we do is get to the scoreboard from all the games in New Hampshire boys basketball from last night. Scoreboard brought to you by our friends at the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission, the Division of Enforcement, and their Buyers Beware campaign, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors. Zach, I know you seem like a relatively young kid. I'm guessing in your 20s. How old are you?
24. I just got out of college. Yeah.
All right, so you don't have your own kids, so you can't go out, buy a six-pack at the store or something and say, son, I just went on the radio for the first time. Let's celebrate. You can't do it. It's against the law. So keep that in mind when you start getting older and having your own kids. Let's start in Division I. Both of us were at games in D1 last night. I'll start with the game that you were at, Zach. Memorial High School, Trinity and Memorial, city matchup. These city games are always good rivalries. And Trinity's been down this year. Memorial's been up and down. I guess when you go into a game with Memorial playing, the big question is who played. Fact is, Trinity won the game 70-56, but was it the Kabongo, not Galakalandi-led Memorial Crusaders? Was there a Trayvon Mon sighting? Was there a Wade Gopp sighting? Who was active for the game last night for Jack Quirk?
It was without Trayvon and Kabongo for the second game. Obviously, Trayvon's been out the whole year, but this is the second time Kabongo's been out in a row. Supposedly he has frostbite on his hands, or that was the reason he missed the last game, and he was warming up for this game but didn't end up playing in it. And then Wade Gopp was in the game, though.
So Wade Gopp is back.
Yeah, he's eligible now that it's the new semester. I got that much from Coach Quirk. So, yeah, Wade Gopp played. He had 3 points. Yeah, I mean, but the big story is that, Trinity gets a win here, and even though Kabongo wasn't playing, I still think it's a quality win for Trinity. Memorial came in as one of the favorites in D1, and Trinity's been struggling, so they'll take any win they can get, and especially against a rival, and to win in the fashion they did, really dominating, was really great.
Yeah, impressive victory by the Pioneers last night. Good job by Coach Lemieux. Somebody get Kabongo a pair of gloves or something. I heard he got blisters, from shoveling snow the other day and showed up at the game and just couldn't play or play effectively. Elsewhere on the D1 scoreboard, my hometown, Nashua, my original hometown, the battle between North and South last night, won by the Panthers, 70-66. I saw some of the highlights last night on WMUR, and they had a great crowd at Nashua South for that game. The game that I was at, awesome rivalry. Londonderry beats Pinkerton 67-61. Lancers still undefeated. Cody Ball went off in this game in the second half, scoring 20 of his 22. And if you get a chance, watch the video highlights on nhsportspage.com. It was an alley-oop fest to David Fox. He had 4 alley-oop jams. Awesome. 5 dunks in the game. It was a show. But Londonderry stays unbeaten. They knock off Pinkerton, and the Astros lose for the second time this year. We'll talk to Coach Rosinski around the bottom of the hour, 8:35. We'll get Coach Rosinski on, get his thoughts on that game. BG, an impressive win. They beat Keene. Keene's been playing a lot better this year, 82-74, the score last night. It was Dover winning the Battle of the Winless. Dover beats Concord 80-55 last night. Another rivalry game out on the Seacoast. Exeter 72, Winnicott 47. This just in, Brian Holmes, he's good. Fun to watch. Exeter wins that battle. Division 2, Brady 58-45. They're back on the winning track. Lose a tough one against Merrimack Valley last week, but Brady's going to be there in the end. I just know it. John Stark beats Plymouth 57-47. It was Kearsarge 60, Sanborn 52. Wyndham goes up to North Conway, much like they did in football, 57-50. They beat the Kennett Eagles last night. Good win by the Jags. Co-Brown, no problem with Kingswood, 65-31. It was Lebanon exacting some revenge against Goffstown, who had beat them earlier this year, 66-32 the final. West keeps on rolling. That's a good basketball team, Zach. You've seen the Blue Knights, 76-61. It's good to see West playing good basketball, and I think they're going to be a real factor. Brady, Portsmouth, Lebanon, I think it's going to be an excellent Division II race this year.
Yeah, I think it's the great thing about West is that they weren't necessarily talked about as much as those other teams you just named, Portsmouth, Lebanon, Brady, and yet they've really played up to that standard and beaten Brady. And coming down from D2, you expected them to be good, but maybe not this good, and they've really done a great job. Zach Jones, Motu Maker, 2 stars, really been great, and yeah, a school that has a lot of pride in basketball and didn't really want to go down to D2 but is enjoying the success.
Take advantage of it while you can, guys. Other D2 scores, I got this one messed up, but I know Merrimack Valley beat Conval 70-46. I got it written down the other way, but it was Merrimack Valley victorious against Conval, the Battle of the Valleys. Sauhegan and Milford renewed their rivalry, 61-51. The Sabres win it last night. A little bit of an upset, I would say. St. Thomas victorious. They beat Hollis Brookline 68-67 the final, and Portsmouth no problem with Timberlane 73-38. Division 3, the only score that matters according to my co-host Dave Haley. Guilford 53, Berlin 50. The Golden Eagles go up to Berlin and get a victory. That's a good win for Dave's alma mater. It was Farmington 51, Belmont 40. Pelham rolls on 58-42. I got to see them earlier this week against Winnisquam, and Pelham continues to impress. 16-point win on the road at Hopkinton last night. It was Prospect Mountain 54, Interlakes 51. Mascoma beat Monadnock 75-46. Hillsborough Deering a 6-point win against Newfound 57-51. Here's one that surprised me a little bit. I saw Winnisquam play the other night against Pelham. Pelham overwhelmed them in the second half, but Winnisquam goes to Newport and gets a 59-57 victory in that game. Christian Serrano and company with a quality win over Newport in Division 3. It was Messinic 73, Raymond 59. Bow beat Summersworth 44-27. Laconia losing to Stevens on the road 65-57. Finally, in Division 4, we've got coverage of one of these games coming up at some point, being the video being posted on nhsportspage.com. It was Woodsville with Jen Chick and Dave Haley in the house, all over Paul Greenlaw's Profile Patriots, 70-39. The final. Derryfield, the team you've seen, Zach, in Division 4, they beat Hinsdale 55-46. They continue to be one of the top teams in D4. Another top team in Division 4, the defending champs, Epping, they beat their rivals from Newmarket last night, 80-46. And Littleton put up 86 on Lisbon. Poor Sam Natty, 86-39 the final last night. A kind of a north-south battle in Division 4. Portsmouth Christian beats Gorham, doubles them up 60-30. Wilton Lineborough, another victory against Sunapee, 70-63 last night. I mentioned the Woodsville over Profile, and another one of those north-south battles, so to speak. And the North wins it. Canaan, Pittsburgh beating Concord Christian 49-37. Final score from last night in D4. It was Moulton Borough 66, Pittsfield 37. And Dave, who will join us later in the show from the North Country, I think he's staying at Sam Natty's house out in Landaff, he told me. He's going to be at the Colebrook Groveton game this afternoon. Big game in Division 4. That game is taking place in Groveton. All right, we'll take a timeout right now. We'll come back. I want to talk about that Memorial Trinity game that Zach Ward from the Union Leader was at. He has a story in the UL. You want to check it out online or in the print editions as Trinity defeats Memorial. No Kabongo, no Trayvon Mon, but Wade Gopp did come back. We'll talk about that game. And then, of course, that Pinkerton Londonderry game with Coach Pete Rosinski just a little bit after the bottom of the hour, 8:35. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
From Manchester West to Winnicunnet, Central to Somersworth, and Portsmouth to Plymouth, this is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Welcome back to the program. Pete Terrier, along with Zach Ward from the New Hampshire Union Leader. He writes that high school basketball column that you see on Thursdays, and that you see his game stories in the paper and online. Last night, Zach, you were at Memorial High School for the Trinity Memorial game, a rematch of a game that took place earlier this year in the Queen City Jamboree. It was one of those consolation games, and Memorial had no problem with Trinity that night. And Trinity's been struggling, a team under 500 by 2 games coming in. They lost to Keene earlier this week. And they righted the ship last night, and Justin Trickett really leading the way for the Pioneers and Coach Matt Lemieux as Trinity wins the game 70-56. But the big story, not necessarily the Trinity win over their rival Memorial, but frostbite for Kabongo Galakalandi. I don't know that in my entire 20-something years of covering high school sports here in New Hampshire that I've ever heard of a kid that did not play because of frostbite. I know there was a kid from Keene that jumped off a roof into a snowbank and broke his arm. I think there was Boulay that happened to a couple years ago, but Kabongo Galakalandi apparently not playing because of frostbite on his hands because of shoveling snow earlier in the week. And so, Quirk, that's what he told you?
That's what I heard around. I was at this Memorial girls game, and that's what people were saying, just hearing it. And then we had a reporter at Memorial's game that same night, Tuesday, the boys' game, and that's what Quirk told him. So, yeah, that's what, that's what, it's not just Quirk, but that's the word around Memorial. So I kind of believe it. And, Kabongo had 31 points in that game, when they beat Trinity. So that's the difference. And Quirk said it after the Bedford was who they played on Tuesday. And he said, not to make excuses, but, Kabongo's, that's 20 or 30 points a night,
Yeah, that's a difference maker right there. How tough is it for you as a reporter to have to kind of, ask him those type of questions? I remember reading your previews for Division I basketball, and you have to talk to these coaches, and he really doesn't know on a day-to-day basis who's going to be available to him. So it can't be easy for you trying to extract information from a guy like that who sometimes just can't give the information because of, policies and things like that and legal reasons.
Right. And, well, I don't really worry about as much his job as what my job is. And I know that they're high school kids, So for me, I don't want to pry too much into their lives as I would if it was a college player or a pro player. So yeah, I definitely approach it with caution, and we don't need to report everything, but we're just, I mean, honestly, Trayvon and Kabongo are two of the best players in the state, and they're just relevant to talk about, so that's why we cover it.
What's your sense, Zach? Do you think we're going to see Trayvon Mon back? Because that's the talk of the town. This kid's going to be back. You mentioned earlier that Wade Gopp came back, although he didn't play all that well last night. I think you said only 3 points. Craig Preston's a kid who can play, who can shoot it for them. I like Mallow Roomraj. He's athletic. I didn't see his name in the story, but I didn't read your story fully yet. Was he in the lineup last night, Mallow?
Yeah.
Okay. They've got some pieces. If they could just get everybody back and with a little bit of time before the playoffs, they could be dangerous just like they were last year. This was a team that was under 500 going into the playoffs, and they went to Londonderry and they knocked off the 4 seed. So, and almost took out Central and ruined their unbeaten season. If they could just get everybody back together, they're definitely a threat.
Yeah, I thought that last night. I'm like, well, because they start off 1-0, I think, and played well in the QCIBT, even though they didn't win it. So, they were still thought to be one of the top teams. And now they're just kind of back to last year, though, where they were very weak in the regular season, and they're looking to probably finish with a weak record this regular season. But we saw last year that just turned into a deep playoff run. So that crossed my mind. But to speak to the other players that they have, yeah, Craig Preston had a great game last night. Really was one of the, maybe the best player on the floor, along with Justin Trickett for Trinity. Preston just unfortunately didn't come up on the winning end, but he's a great player in his own right. And Brandon Scott, who had an off night with only 4 points last night, but and Zach Lubin came in for them and scored 13, and I hadn't heard of him before.
He's got a little size.
Yeah.
He's got some skill. He's a little raw, but he's some. They don't have a ton of size either. There's not a lot of. I saw some size last night for Pinkerton.
Yeah.
Pembroke's got some size, but there's not a lot of size around New Hampshire high school basketball this year. One thing that stood out for me from the game last night was Trinity had 45 points at the half.
Yep.
There's been games this year where they've scored 45.
Yeah.
But they were really pushing the pace last night.
Yeah, they came right out of the gate. I led my story with Justin Trickett because he really made the impact that that stuck with me when I thought about the game afterwards. And even though he scored 12 of their first 14 points, and even though that's not when they pulled away, I still wanted to lead with that because it really just kind of set the tone. But Memorial was matching them during that stretch though when Trickett was scoring, and then it was really Luke Testa and Connor Walsh stepping up later in the game. Trickett only had 4 points in the second half, and Testa and Walsh stepped up, and they Trinity pulled away. They had a 15-0 run later in the first quarter after Trickett had done most of his scoring. So
let's talk about Walsh for a second, because I like his game. He's an undersized big man, but he can shoot it. Sort of reminds me a little bit of Charles Barkley, the old round mound of rebound. But Walsh is a kid who we've seen, kind of come up. And even last year when Trinity was still a top team, he was getting minutes. He has the ability to create his own shot. I really like his inside-outside game. He's got a back-to-the-basket mentality that you don't see a lot in New Hampshire high school basketball. But he's an impressive player as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he can score so many different ways. He really jumps out at you, as their best player. As he goes, they go. Even last night he finished with 23 points, kind of quietly as the top scorer in the game. Yeah, basically everything you just said. Can't say enough about how good of a player he is, and like you said, he was a part of contributing to last year's really good team, as was Luke Testa. They were kind of the 6th and 7th men off the bench. So
let's talk about Manchester Central. They didn't play last night. I saw a lot of the guys on the Central team at the Londonderry Pinkerton game that I was at last night, and we'll get into that. We'll have Coach Rosinski from Pinkerton joining us in just a few minutes from now. But Central, I did not see this coming. I knew they'd be good. They're always good under Doc Wheeler. but I didn't see them continuing to keep the unbeaten streak going. I think they're 10-0 now. Another victory earlier this week. Jalen Leroy is really starting to blossom. Joey Martin is Joey Martin. He's a great player. They're getting some contributions from other guys. Omaro Conte has been playing very, very well for him when he's been available. Evan McDonald is stroking the three. John McCory can score for them. They've just really impressed me with what they've done so far this year, Central.
Yeah, definitely. You know, they've got really those 5 players. I think that you named all 5 of them. Really, the starting 5. You know, they're all 3-point shooters. Basically, you know, they don't have a lot of size. You know, I saw them play Pinkerton, and Coach Wheeler talked about that. Like, you know, we're not all 6'6", you know, like Pinkerton is. Basically, Pinkerton's crazy how big they are, and you know, but Central is amazing how they can still be this dominant and be undefeated, because they don't have. You don't look at them like, really the 2 teams that you look at are Pembroke and Pinkerton. When you just look at them like, wow, these kids are probably going to be really good because they're huge, you know. But Central gets the job done, and yeah, you know, I don't think they can finish it undefeated. I still think someone's going to knock them off. They still got Londonderry to face, and to speak to your point about all the Central kids being at that game last night, you know, there were a lot of Londonderry players, or a few of them, at the Pinkerton Central game. So between those 3 teams, they're all really scouting each other, and it's going to be really interesting between those 3 teams, especially Central Londonderry.
Is that game next Friday, the Central Londonderry game?
I'm not sure when that game is.
I think it might be next week. I'm not exactly sure, but that's a game that I definitely plan on being at. All right, we'll take another timeout here. When we come back, we'll get Coach Rosinski from Pinkerton on the phone. Tough loss for his team last night. They lose 67-61 to their rivals from Londonderry, but the atmosphere at the Hackler Gym at Pinkerton, it was a boys-girls basketball doubleheader, and they had one of those unified games on in between the girls' game and the boys' game. So the boys' game didn't start till like 8 o'clock at night. But what an atmosphere, packed crowd, and it was just a lot of fun. And check out the video highlights on nhsportspage.com. You want to see a lot of alley-oop dunks. David Fox had 20 points in the game, and I think he had 4 or 5 dunks, and 4 of them on spectacular alley-oop passes. It was like Rondo throwing the alley-oop to KG back in the Celtics heyday not too long ago. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back with Coach Rosinski from Pinkerton. We got Zach Ward from the Union Leader, high school basketball writer, in for Dave Haley. Dave's up north getting set to cover another game. Groveton hosting Colebrook. Buddy Trask going into Groveton today for a big game in the North Country. Dave and Jen Chick were there last night covering Woodsville and Profile. So those 2 games, the video highlights will be up on the website, nhsportspage.com, at some point over the course of the weekend. The Londonderry Pinkerton highlights are up there, so feel free to go check them out. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Welcome back to the best local coverage of New Hampshire high school basketball. The New Hampshire High School Hoop Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Oh, what an atmosphere down in Derry last night as Pinkerton and Londonderry squared off in a triple header of basketball. It was Londonderry girls beating the Pinkerton girls in the first game. The unified game between the teams' 2 schools was very, very entertaining. And then the nightcap, Londonderry and Pinkerton boys. The Lancers winning it 67-61 to stay unbeaten on the season. Pinkerton loses their second game of the year. To me, one of the most meaningful Londonderry-Pinkerton boys games in a long, long time. And our next guest can speak to that. The coach of the Pinkerton Astros, Pete Rosinski, joins us. Coach Rosinski, good morning, and thanks for coming on the program.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. We would be happier if we won, but those things happen. Londonderry, played a great game. Jake Coleman, Cody Ball, just phenomenal. I believe they're the best guard tandem in the state in the NHIA. Jake Coleman the word for him is deceptive. He was the fastest player on the floor. We could not contain him at any time. He was just able to get to the rim, take the short-range jumper, make the dump-off pass, and then when you stayed back on him to try to contain him, he would hit the three. Just a phenomenal job by that sophomore. And then, of course, Cody Ball. Cody Ball, I had different ideas of who the player of the year is so far, and Cody Ball just changed my mind in many ways in that second half. He just overcame adversity. We really tried to show Londonderry a lot of different looks defensively. We felt that was successful. Unfortunately, we weren't converting in the first half. We missed some shots early on, and Cody got heated up in the second half and took over. We just couldn't stop him. So they have two guards that are very difficult to cover, and that's what makes that team work, and very impressive.
Coach, having lost now to Central and Londonderry, those being your only two losses, do you feel like you're still in the mix with those two other teams, like the three of you, and do you think that, what do you need to do differently when you see those teams in the playoffs?
Well, obviously we feel we can play with them. A couple bounces here or there last night, we could have won that game. The thing is that last night we didn't hit our free throws. We only went to the line 7 times, but we only made 2. We just need to control the ball better. We had a high turnover ratio last night. We had 17 turnovers. We haven't turned the ball over like that at that high a level. So having Rizzo get in early foul trouble did not help us. And so that those things added up in that game for us to lose to Londonderry. Central, I don't believe we were as healthy as we needed to be to go into the Central game. On any given night, I think if somebody stumbles or somebody has a miscue, those games can change very rapidly. So on a given night, I think we can beat either team. But I was very impressed with the Londonderry backcourt. Coleman and Ball are just they're the best backcourt in the NHIA.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, Jake Coleman impressed me. I've seen him primarily as a shooter, a kid sitting outside the three-point line and jacking up threes. He had 3 of them last night, but a lot of his points, and he had 25 to lead all scorers, came on drives to the basket. And you mentioned Cody Ball. He was having an off shooting night in the first half, had only 2 first-half points. But he had 5 3-pointers in the second half, really started getting it going in the third quarter, finished with 22 in the game. Mark Corey was sat down for the entire first half, coach's decision. I had heard that there was some things happening at practice or whatever, so Corey was sat down. He came on and hit a big 3 right at the beginning of the third quarter. I thought jump-started them. He finished with 8. As far as your team goes, I was impressed with the passing. I mean, I've heard a lot about Geo Baker, your outstanding sophomore point guard, and he's very fast. I'm surprised you think Coleman is faster than him because Geo is quick.
Yes, he is.
But you guys were like putting on a passing clinic, especially those alley-oops to David Fox. He finished with 20 points, and half of those points came on, alley-oop jams, which were very impressive. I saw the video this morning on NHSportsPage.com, and you guys were it was Rondo to KG all over again for me.
Yeah, we do drills. Last year and this year, we've had kids last year and this year that are above the rim and are bigs. And so we do drills, and what we want is when you drive to the basket, we don't want to have that secondary line, that back line, have time to hedge and recover. So we try to put it up right next to the rim, and we actually practice a shooting drill where we do this, and where we, work on a shot and then going into the paint, pull-up jumper, and then also making the pass to the big in a position where he doesn't have to collect himself to make the shot. It's all in one motion. So we do this, and you could see that it wasn't just Gio that did it. There were, Caleb Godin did it, Rizzo did it, and in the past we've had Drew Green do it in a game. So we practice that because we want to get that shot quickly. And Londonderry made a total commitment to have the secondary defense, the back wall, stop that drive. They were not putting a body on David at all. They left him wide open. So this was like, doing it in practice. He was left wide open. So, but he played a great game. I believe it's his best game he's ever played for us, and I'm very proud of him. So that was really good to see that and see him blossom like that. So that was something that we were really happy with. We felt that guys really played hard at the end. Londonderry got lucky with some things that happened at the end. There was some crucial situations that happened there, and we also, they made a gamble. They made a gamble to concentrate on stopping our penetration, and they got lucky because we missed a couple bunnies at the end of the game that could have changed the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens. Basketball, it's a game of runs, and it can switch. When we get it down to 55-55, we were in a position to take back the lead, but we didn't convert, and they did.
You talked about just then Londonderry taking you out of what you wanted to do. Do you feel like you need to dictate terms more next time you play these two teams? I know Central, you gave up a lot of three-pointers in that game, and do you want to make it more about points in the paint?
Well, it's not necessarily that. We were in foul trouble, with Rizzo getting foul trouble. That definitely hurt us. But, really the game comes down to this. How many guys on the floor do you have that can create on their own? And are they able to? Are they in foul trouble? Are they not in foul trouble? And when you have players, matching up, it always comes down to the matchups at the end. And if you've got an advantage, or you're shooting really well down the stretch, that happens. That you've got to convert the shot. You've got to convert the shot. They converted their shots at the end. We didn't convert our shots at the end. We had some bunnies inside. We didn't convert. They go in. Now it's a different ball game. So it's not necessarily a different strategy. It's just we got to make it. Also, we got to make our free throws.
Hey, Coach, before we let you go, just want to say I'm happy to see your son Luke is doing so well at Kimball Union. I know that wasn't an easy decision for you to make. You could have had him on this team, add another 6'8" kid who, is going to get a college scholarship, would have been on your team. So that had to be a tough decision, but I'm glad to see that he's doing well at Kimball Union.
Yeah, we're very happy for him, and well, what we would have done is we would have put him on ball till last night. He wouldn't have been able to shoot over him. You needed length, you needed length against Ball. Yeah, I'll tell you, Cody Ball he's going to do well at St. A's. I know Bert Hamill won him at Merrimack, and Keith Dixon, both great coaches, and they know talent, and they picked a good kid to try to recruit, and I know now he's committed to St. A's, and he's a great kid, great family, and I wish him all the best. I would have loved him to, if he stayed in, moved to Derry. If Londonderry stayed in there, we would have loved to have had him. But he's a great player, and the thing is, he's a muscular kid. He's a 6'3", rugged guard that has speed, that can shoot, that has skills. and sees the floor, and he's tough. He's tough. There's no doubt about it. He showed it. He showed it at the end of that game. He took control of the game.
Well, it was a lot of fun seeing you guys play. I hope you get some time to check out that video on NHSportsPage.com. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm going to break down the film. I'm going to be breaking down my film today. So, I actually caught some of it, and you guys do such a great job. And I know we were very entertaining. It was an entertaining game last night. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And it was a great crowd, and it's just unfortunate, we didn't convert on a couple things down the stretch, and the ball didn't bounce our way at the end there. But on any given night, that game could go a different way.
We might see that matchup again down the line.
Oh, yes, we might. We might. But I'm going to say this. Central is a very, very tough team. They have 5 guys who can create. And the more guys that you have that can create on the floor, that don't have to be set up, you're more dangerous and you're a tougher matchup. And that's why Central has had so much success the last couple of years here, is because they have 5 guys who can create. When we won in 2010, they didn't have 5 guys that could create.
Right.
We had more guys that could create, and that's what it comes down to, and putting the ball in the hole down the stretch, and that's what Londonderry did last night.
All right, Coach.
And we thank you for all you do for the high school kids in the state of New Hampshire.
All right, Coach. We'll see you soon, okay? Thanks, Pete.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks, Coach.
See you, Pete.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Pete Rosinski from Pinkerton, his team losing a tough one last night against their rivals, 67-61. As we said, check out the highlights, NHSportsPage.com. We'll take a timeout. Zach Ward from the Union Leader is with us. Dave Haley in the North Country. We'll check in with Dave on the phone when we return. Get the North Country report. I got to find out what the temperature is up there. I mean, it was, I think, 4 degrees at my house in Goffstown this morning. It's got to be at least 4 below. I'm shooting for below 0, Dave. We'll join up with him on the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show when we return. News Radio 610 and 96.7.
These guys know their high school basketball. It's the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show with Pete Terrier and Dave Haley on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Well, Dave joining us on the phone line right now from the North Country, Landoff, New Hampshire, Casa Natty. And I don't know how fun that was to stay there last night after Sam's team, Lisbon, loses 86-39 against Littleton. But Dave, good morning, and thanks for joining us on the program, on your program.
Sam lost by 40 points last night, and is proud because he never called a timeout. So that was really like the focus of the discussion last night. I've got breaking news for you, Pete, from Landoff. Breaking news, honestly.
What is the breaking news?
Matt Regan, head coach of Pelham, has filed paperwork to try to move Pelham from Division III back to Division II because he wants absolutely no part of the Guilford Golden Eagles. He wants out, and he wants out now because my Guilford Golden Eagles are steamrolling through Division III as we speak.
I told Zach Ward, who's filling in, why don't you say hi to Zach?
Hey, Zach, how you doing? Thanks for filling in.
Hey, Dave, thanks.
I told him that you probably want to focus not necessarily on the game you were at last night, Woodsville profile, but Berlin-Guilford. That's a good win for your Golden Eagles.
Yeah, Levi Arsenal is back for Berlin. He had, I think he had 12 points last night. But it's a really good win. They're playing 12 guys, and defensively, they've really just kind of found the right mix on the floor. And to go up to Berlin and win, with that road trip and that officiating, and, to get a W up there, that's a really, really good win for Guilford. So I was excited about that. Yeah, Woodsville looked good last night. Jen and I had a lot of fun at the game. Jared Bemis had a nice night for the Engineers. And Groveton Colebrook today, 2:30 matinee, so we're ready to go up here.
So it's a 2:30 tip time, huh?
Yeah, it's 2:30. The girls' game is before that. So, yeah. We're going to be doing that today, so we're excited. So
Did you stick a thermometer outside and get me a temperature reading?
Temperature reading. Hold on one hour. I've got an update for you. Hold on. Pete, it's 13 degrees up here. 10% chance of snow. We had some flurries last night. We got about an inch of snow. It's supposed to be warm and sunny this afternoon. High of 18 degrees with snow overnight. And now back to Dave.
That's that Sam Natty, the Lisbon coach.
Live from Landow.
That's pretty good work there. I'm disappointed, though. I mean, we're talking double-digit temperatures in the teens. I mean, come on. I look for more than that. Hey, Dave, you've been listening to the show.
Yeah.
Did you hear what Zach said about Kabongo and the frostbite?
Yeah, I talked to Doc Wheeler yesterday, and he told me he was cleaning somebody's roof and got frostbite on his hand, and apparently put it under hot water, and then it kind of bubbled up on him. So I feel, you said earlier that you don't remember. Do you remember this happened to Zach Stevens at Trinity?
Frostbite?
Yeah, Zach Stevens, one of the nicest kids I think we've ever covered. He got his car stuck, and he tried to kind of scoop the snow out from under his wheel with his hand, and he got frostbite on his hand. So this is the second frostbite injury that we've had in the last few years. But that's a big loss. I heard Kabongo could be out for 2 weeks. So, I mean, and they're playing, Division I. There's no easy games. So, I mean, it's a pretty major injury to those guys.
I mean, Quirk must be like at the end of his rope.
Oh, he's just, yeah.
They saw that against Trinity. There's no easy games in Bedford, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's a terrific win for Matt Lemieux. Happy for him. But, right now there's a lot of, Memorial has to believe that they had a shot at a top 8 seed, but that may go out the window with this injury. And then they kind of turn into a Sunapee where they're going to be that lower-seeded team that nobody wants to play. If Trayvon Mon comes back, obviously Kabongo will be back. So anytime you have a kid who's one of the best players in the state out, it's disappointing.
Hey, Dave, just quickly, we only got 2 minutes left in the program, but I just want to go around the state and get some thoughts. Wyndham going up to Kennett, doing what they did to them. I mean, they didn't blow them out last night like they did in football, but 57-50, Wyndham beats Kennett. And then another score, Winnisquam, a team that we saw the other night, they beat Newport 59-57.
Yeah, Newport's got Pelham next week, and that's a real interesting score. Winnisquam was able to hang with Pelham for a little while, but they took away Christian Serrano's right hand and kind of sat on that. And then in the second half, Pelham was able to kind of do what they wanted against them. That's a good win for Winnisquam, and with Guilford coming on, beating Berlin, I mean, for the Lakes region, that's a good night last night.
How about the north-south battles? Portsmouth Christian, I think no surprise, doubling up Gorham last night, 60-30. But if I'm reading this right, Canaan-Pittsburgh over Concord Christian, 49-37. That sound right?
Yeah, Canaan-Pittsburgh is a team that's probably going to finish 9-9. They're big. I mean, they have a lot of size, and Concord Christian is down this year. I think they're one of the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the division. But Pittsburgh Canaan is going to be, I wrote about this week, they're going to be that team that at the end of the season you're going to say, Pittsburgh Canaan's 9-9, but they are. So today's going to be interesting because if Colebrook can win this game, they got a legitimate chance to run the table and be, a top 6, top 7 seed. They beat Groveton 2 weeks ago, and it's all going to be about Corey Gadwa. He has 56 points in the last 2 games. If they can hold him in check today, Colebrook's got a chance to go in there to Groveton and win that thing. So we're fired up about it. We're pretty excited about this game today.
All right. Well, Dave, we appreciate it. Tell Sam we said thanks, and I hope you're having fun with the daughter there. Was she about a year old now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're bonding. Yeah.
Ava? Ava, is that her name?
Ava, yeah, exactly. So we'll have the highlights. I don't know if Jen's got the highlights of last night's game, but we're going to have everything on the website this week for people to watch. And, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great atmosphere today, so we're excited.
All right, Dave, thanks. Enjoy the game. We look forward to seeing the coverage. And thanks to Sam for housing you for the night. And we'll see you next week when you get back.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, I want to thank Pete Rosinski from Pinkerton for joining us, John Kesty from NHSportsPage.com for filming us. The video will be up on the website at some point today. Zach, thanks so much for coming in. It was a lot of fun having you, and hopefully we can do it again. Look forward to reading your stuff in the Union Leader. Don't forget, check out high school basketball from Zach Ward in the UL.